When you think of a downtown, what comes to mind? Probably shopping, restaurants, and entertainment, or maybe the hum of offices, hospitals, and government facilities. But a downtown is much more than just a commercial hub. It's a neighborhood where people live. And because of that, downtowns require the same essential infrastructure as any other residential area. We're talking schools and community hubs, parks and vibrant green spaces, grocery stores for daily essentials, and convenient access to public transportation. Today, I want to bring all of that into the heart of the city. And because of that, we're going to focus on the concept of the 15-minute city. The goal of a 15-minute city is to create a place where you can access all of your daily essentials within a 15-minute walk, bike ride, or transit trip. And considering the physical footprint of downtown New Banff, it seems like it'd be the perfect case study for this approach. To make this work, we're going to be focusing in on the fine details, ensuring that every single block is as livable and accessible as possible. And we've got a lot to build, so let's jump right in. Before we build anything, there's two things that I want to go over. The first is the concept of the 15-minute city and what I mean by that. So to really articulate how far a 15-minute walk is, I've decided to turn off unit measurement for today. And that's because about 1,000 meters would be walkable for most people within 15 minutes. So I feel like it's really important to visualize how far that is. So from the City Hall, 1,000 meters, well, you could basically cover all the way to here. So everything in this neighborhood would be walkable to City Hall, at least as the crow flies. But if we cross the river, we're really not even able to get to the train station, for instance. And if we look at that apartment complex that we built, that's just outside of 1 kilometer. So that's not walkable. Now, this concept, this is something that we need to apply to basically everything that's a daily need. So schools, grocery stores, park space, and then apply it to other things like healthcare. You want to be able to get to healthcare within 15 minutes if you can. Libraries, places of employment. And when you think of that, you start to think about the number of these that you're going to need. We can't just have one grocery store plopped in downtown because not everyone would be able to reach that. You have to remember that not everyone is reaching things as the crow flies like we just measured out right here. They're going to have to use our existing transportation network. So we can obviously make things more efficient by adding pedestrian cut-throughs and things of that nature, but just reasonably, the size of the city is going to just necessitate that we have more than one of these things. So we're going to need multiple grocery stores. We're going to need multiple schools. The one school that we placed over here is probably not going to be good enough to serve these folks over here. And then thinking about some of the land uses, when you have something like a grocery store, how do people get here? Maybe they want to walk to it. Maybe they can. If you live right here, maybe you can walk to Sobeys every single day and get your groceries. But if you live over here, you're going to need convenient access to public transportation because it's a grocery store. You might get 2 or 3 bags of groceries and need to carry them home. So these are the sorts of things. That's why I've been placing so much transit in front of the grocery store, because it's so important that people can use transit to get their groceries home. So we're going to need to make the exact same considerations over here as we start to place some of these uses. And ultimately, what I'm going to be doing today is going through each and every one of these important and core uses and placing them first. And then we're going to work back from there and fill everything else in with residential. But before we do that, I want to point out a couple of things. The city might look a little bit different than it did in the previous episode and than it did in the episode before that. And I think that this is my fault. Basically, I plopped a number of buildings, and from within Plop the Growables, I didn't have a selection enabled. So from the options menu, I probably should have had Make Buildings Historical when plopped enabled. And the reason why is if you toggle this after the fact, if you have a building that is in the process of leveling up and you toggle Make Historical, well, it's going to make historical at the level that it's going to be. So if it's already in the process of leveling up, you don't know what you've just made historical. And I think I just had that happen all over the downtown area. So I want to begin by fixing some of the building issues that I have in the downtown area. You can see, for instance, that one of my Brickworks buildings has converted to be this, fine mid-rise building, but it's certainly not what I intended to have right here, and the character has changed. I've also got these buildings that have changed, and I want to control some of the roofs so that they're the same color, so it feels like a cohesive structure. And even in these blocks right here, they've all gotten taller than I wanted them to be. So got to go back to the drawing board. This will only take a couple of minutes, but I think it's incredibly important. feel like that brings us back to a fairly decent baseline that I'm at least pretty happy with. I wanted to go with more of the rectangular buildings. I just feel like that fits this part of the world a little bit better, and it feels a little bit more like I initially planned for it to be. So now we can move on to placing some of the uses that I feel like the city would need. Starting out with grocery stores. I think that's one of the most important ones. And if you have the Southwestern Region Pack installed and you look for a 6x6 building, even if you just try to spawn it in, you will get a grocery store every single time. So because I know that that is what I'm going to get, I'm going to lock the form in again. I want to have a very specific feeling. So I'm just going to grab this level 1 grocery store. And I think that we're going to plop 2 of these. We're going to place one over here, kind of by this residential neighborhood. I don't want this to front this street. I think we'll place it on the side, but the grocery store is going to want this to be very visible. So I'll place it on Franklin Street so that if you're going down Hickorywood Street, which let's rename this Adanac Avenue, which is Canada backwards, and I hear is found in a lot of Canadian cities. We'll see if the person in the comment section lied to me or not. So let me know. But either way, we're going to make that Adanac Avenue, and the grocery store will be clearly visible from here. And let's see, it says it's Pelican Biofuels. I disagree. You will be a grocery store, and you will always be a grocery store. And because of the setting that we selected and plopped the growables, this is now historical. It should always look like this. And now I want to give this some Canadian flair. So let's get rid of the branding. And we have Loblaws. And I'm going to do something that as the city planner would drive me insane. I'm going to have them plaster this right on the side of their building. And then let's see, can I modify the color of the building itself to match their branding? It feels like that's more appropriate, and yeah, it definitely seems to work. So that's one grocery store, and this would serve this entire neighborhood right here. And as the crow flies, you'd be able to reach it from basically anywhere in the core downtown area. But if you're over here, you're kind of out of luck. So let's place one more grocery store. This time I'm going to go for the level 3, which looks a little bit more modern, and I think might fit with these apartments a little bit nicer. Now, once again, I'm going to place this on the side street, and there's 2 reasons for that. Number 1, if there's any backing up coming from this grocery store, it'll happen on the side street. But number 2, if we were to place this on the main road, the entry would be blocked by the median. So that means that you could only access the grocery store in one direction. So this provides full access to the grocery store. It's really important. So once again, I want to fix the branding and make sure that the use is correct. So I'll get rid of the comic sign. And again, make this a food store. This time we have Sobeys again. And though this screening is really important, I think I'm going to get rid of it. And that's specifically for this signage. I will be a little bit more judicious with this screening and add it back here. And I will tell you, this is not nearly enough parking for a grocery store, at least not in North America. I think that if you're in Europe, maybe this looks normal to you. So I would think that we would need this to wrap around the building at a minimum. If not, have the grocery store set back here. But because this is an idealized version of reality, I'm just going to have a smaller lot right out here off to the side. You know, and all the time spent on this grocery store makes me realize that we probably should have done more on the other one. So I'm going to go and do more. Okay, that is much more realistic. And I'll rename it too. Now, I know that some of you don't care about that level of detail, and I totally get it, but it really does bring character to a place. So if you can take a little bit of extra time just to make a place feel that much more realistic, I guess I don't see why you wouldn't. So there we go. We've got 2 grocery stores. That covers our downtown reasonably. But I still think that because of the density that we're going to have here, there would be reason to have maybe one more. So as a result, I am going to add one more grocery store. You can never have too many, I guess, at least until one fails. So let's just do it anyway. And for this one, I want the most urban variant of this, which is the level 5. This one actually has structured parking. And for a downtown area, I don't think that you could do any better. So this is relatively small. I'm hoping I can fit it right here. Actually, let's see if we can centrally locate this a little bit more. No, I will put it right here. This is just, it's a really nice parcel for it. It's right in front of a transit stop. This is the right location for a grocery store. But with that said, we do have to clean up the roads here. And then I want to remove all the street parking here. That's crazy. We don't want that. We're also going to make sure that this is a grocery store once again. And lock it. And it turned green, which that tells me it's a Sobeys. Okay, and I'm not gonna lie, I already feel bad about this Sobeys, mostly because this street back here would be incredibly uncomfortable to walk down. If you think about it, you have a whole bunch of landscaping, a big blank wall, and then you're looking into a business that's likely closed after 9 p.m. So this could be a safety concern. Thankfully, I guess we have the police department right there, so I guess that does make things feel a little bit better in this area, but definitely a concern. Either way, this is a nice urban grocery store. I have a feeling that people who live around here would really appreciate this being here. If you live in the Brickworks, you're definitely walking down here and getting groceries. And for everyone else, there's a tram stop right in front. So next, let's think about schools. And honestly, I think the idea of having schools and grocery stores close by makes a great deal of sense. If you're a busy parent and you need to go pick up your kids after school, being able to walk to a grocery store would be really, really nice. Now, we've already got one school over here, and I am curious to see what the capacity is looking like. It's not totally full, but it does have a lot of students there, and we will be adding more population in short order. So I just want to see which school this is. This is Northeastern Small Elementary School number 2. So I want to place a different one because I want a different design. Capacity is a little bit less for some of these. So I'm going to go for the 5x3 and I'm going to place that down here. And look at that. Everyone over here loves that. I'm just curious if this has any upgrades. It does not. Not a big deal. What I'm going to do now, I think I might actually face this thing towards the arterial because most access is going to take place from the rear. So back here, I am going to add a parking lot. Then off to the side, I'm going to add a basketball court. Actually, I take that back. I'm going to add an activity playground and then see if I can tone it down at all because this thing is busy. That is the toned down variant. Honestly, it does make it feel like it's more a part of the campus. So maybe I'll just roll with it. Then I'm going to bump these over so I can put a little bit of landscaping in between the school and the parking lot and the road. I'm going to lower the price of this to free. No parking fees here. The teachers need to be able to park for free. And then we got to keep the kiddos safe from the arterials. So we'll fence it in, add a bit of landscaping. There we go. That looks pretty darn good. If we take a look at this, 9 students. Perfect. Obviously super necessary. But here's the thing, like I mentioned, we are going to be adding lots of homes at the end, so this will get some utilization. And because of that, I'm not going to be as shy about adding one more as well. So I think that the downtown, because of how dense I want it to be, just must have an elementary school and it must be centrally located. So I'm going to place that probably right around here. And I'm going to go for this one that has 650 capacity. And that will cause me to get rid of that pedestrian street right there It doesn't exactly make sense to have that there. It's just kind of there randomly. Instead, what we actually need is probably a bit of parking and a playground for the children once again. So I'm gonna go for the exact same parking lot that I just went for, and then I'm gonna modify this weird road. Then I totally broke this node. I'm hoping that Brucey Boy can bail me out here. It's not as bad as I thought it was gonna be. I am wondering though, do I have an extra node here? I do. I've also done some bad things to the tram stop right here. So I'm gonna move this. And it seems like that hasn't broken the maple line. But I think I wanna verify, yeah, it's still working, we're good to go. So since that's the case, I'm gonna add that park space back here. We'll go for another busy one, the hilly playground. And I think I will add the basketball court down here if I can make it fit appropriately. Actually, no, we won't. But I will modify this to remove some of the nonsense. Okay, now it's just a small playground. That's all I wanted. And I can easily fence this in. I'll leave an opening there so the public can access this. And then I think I'm gonna leave a fairly large green space here. And there we go. That feels like a very fitting elementary school. Only one more thing that I want to do, a little bit more landscaping along the side right here. And then I decided to get rid of the trees right there. I'm not sure that I like the trees being on this custom road at all. I think that we potentially need to manually place these, or perhaps I add them. But with me being who I am, we also need to go through and add the tree grates. And if we have snapping on the sides of the road, it actually slides along, which keeps them nice and straight, and it's not all that much work. And again, this is a downtown. Downtowns deserve the extra attention, so I think it's worth it. Now, next, I want to add a couple of gas stations through here. Now, I'm guessing that some of you really dislike that I'm adding this, and you think that I should not be adding this, but just reasonably, gas stations exist, and without them, it becomes really difficult to navigate around some places. And in certain cases, you just have to allow for uses that you don't like so that people don't circle around trying to find that particular use. So we are gonna add a gas station. I really feel like this location right here, if you just look at this, you come off the highway, you enter the arterial, and let's say you're trying to go to the hospital or the city hall, you're gonna go through this roundabout right here. So as a result, this would seem to be an excellent location for a gas station and maybe another auto-oriented use or two. So with that in mind, I'm gonna place the gas station right here. I'm not gonna give them direct access to the arterial, but it'll be visible from the arterial. Also, looking at this roundabout, because of the number of lanes that we have right here, this looks absolutely insane. And I'm wondering if we drop the number of lanes here, if that fixes it. Nope. Shrinking the roundabout also doesn't fix it. And I think there's just too much going on with our custom road builder road. So we'll just get rid of the roundabout. We don't need it. Okay, now for the sake of realism, I'm gonna grab this pylon sign and place it more appropriately. They'd want one right there, and they'd probably fight to have one back here as well. But we won't give them that one. We'll give them this one. And I'll get rid of that one. Now, additionally, I'm gonna add another auto-oriented use, espresso on the go. This is another one of those uses that, this is a really busy corridor. You can just imagine people going and getting some espresso on the go and heading to work. Now, I've worked on one of these. It was a Starbucks. And, they don't want any screening. They want to be on a major road like this, and they fight. They fight not to screen. So I'm going to get rid of that landscape buffer right there. And instead, we'll add some separation between these uses, though they might fight actually to have a connection between the two of these. So I might add that. And then there are some lines here that don't look right. Thankfully, we have Algendo's vanilla asphalt surfaces, and these can go over the top of those lines. Otherwise, we would have been forced to live with that. So I'm very pleased with that. Oh, and that is great. That is my favorite espresso and gas station in all of New Banff. So let's add a few more gas stations and not go quite as crazy. I think that we'll add another one right here. And I guess I've been assuming that this will be biofuels. Looks like it is petrochemicals. Is this one as well? It is. Good. Makes me wonder, why would they lock in the companies for certain uses but not others? It feels like, the grocery store should always be a grocery store, but I digress. And then I'm going to add one more over here near the grocery store. And in my opinion, that is a good and logical location for that use. Now I want to think about employment a bit. And I think I'm going to place some things that might be a little controversial. I absolutely love the Supply Chains Content Creator Pack, and I love how unique some of these assets are and where you can work them into your builds. I feel like this cereal mill could work in downtown. So I'm going to place this right about here. We'll turn off snapping to the roads and give it direct access to Pacific Street. I want to imagine that this was one of the first things over here. Maybe this neighborhood back here developed because of the cereal mill right here. So let's pay it even more respect. Let's make sure it's operational. We'll get rid of the weird fences and make it feel more like a parcel. And we're going to let them get away with something that newer businesses would never get away with. And that is having this kind of fencing right along the sidewalk. It is incredibly hostile, but I also think it's fairly realistic. We're also going to need to have some parking here. So I'm going to send the fence down because we are going to have parking along the side of the cereal mill. Let's build that now. Oh, I love that so much. I know that that's going to be incredibly controversial, but I think it's fitting. In fact, I almost think that this shouldn't be alone. Like, this might be something that's really important to the entire community, and maybe it supports other industries nearby. So I'm going to modify, I think, what's happening right here. And we unlock the energy drink bottling plant. Just like this use, it's not bad from a pollution standpoint. Cereal mill has low pollution, low ground pollution, medium noise pollution, but it's near a gas station, so I'm not overly concerned. The energy drink bottling plant is even more compatible with residential. It just produces low noise pollution. So we're going to place this thing right here. That said, we cannot, or at least we should not, take access from the arterial. At least, you know what? This is a legacy use. We're going to allow it. Though I will remove this node that's right here, and then it is unhappy about its connection. I wonder, it's actually not connected. This is the front, so I didn't have the front correct. So with that in mind, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna bump this thing right there, and then I want to have parking, more parking to serve this facility right here, and then a connection into Franklin Street. So I'm gonna use invisible roads. Once again, I'm going absolutely ham with these things today. And we'll do something like that. And then I think right here, I'll run another invisible road. Actually, I'm going to remove a little bit of parking on this asset. And I can't, because if I remove this, it's going to remove all of it. But I can remove just this one. So I'll remove that one parking stall. And then from within the asset, I'm going to modify the pathing. And then I'm going to imagine that at some point, this business came through and wanted to make some modification to their site. And as a result, they were required to come in compliance with the existing zoning code. And we're going to require more screening because of the kind of use. So as a result, thicker fence right here. And then we're going to also screen from the grocery store. I think, yeah, there's nothing there. And then I'll steal the color from the grocery store, paste it onto those. And there we go. I decided to add some screening along the water just in case we end up having an extension of the bike path down here. We'd be able to screen that and then not have to look at all of this industrial clutter over here. Now, I did break a couple of things over here on these assets, so I should just double check my work. It's not that big of a deal. And I feel like those extra details, that little bit of extra attention and time, it really matters. Now, this does have an upgrade that I could have applied. Maybe at some point down the line, I will. I really think, though, before we start doing stuff like that all willy-nilly like, we should make sure that we need it, and we do. 9.1% unemployment. That's actually pretty crazy. This will increase industrial efficiency citywide, but really change the aesthetic of the building. I don't know how I feel about that. Why don't you guys let me know in the comments below? Do you think I should add this upgrade? We do have the parking, so I guess the loss of the parking is not the end of the world. However, it definitely makes it feel more industrial. Same thing with the cereal mill. This one is huge. This would actually break the intent of what we were trying to do at the church because it would make the building taller than the steeple. But still, let me know in the comments below. Let's attempt to solve some of this unemployment by adding in a few more signature buildings. We have the Riverside Grill and we are along a river, so I feel like adding it to the riverside only makes sense. I want to turn off anarchy as I place this if I can so that all the trees go away. That's not going to work, so I'll just place it on my own. It is having some issues with this, so I'll need to modify the keying a little bit. And this honestly isn't a huge deal now that we have the area delete. That looks pretty good. I just don't love the fence. To me, it feels a little bit too industrial. So I'm gonna get rid of that. And then the interesting thing about this asset is even though it's the Riverside Grill, we don't actually see the water from it. So it's kind of an ironic name for it, but we won't worry about that all that much. What we will worry about though is screening the mechanicals from the river. And then I wasn't necessarily opposed to a fence. I was just opposed to it looking industrial. So I've modified that and gone with something that feels a little bit more ornate. And I like that. It makes this area feel a little bit more modern. I also had a number of people request that we add the Eclipse nightlife to the city. I absolutely want to do that. And I feel like this should probably be near this district over here where it feels like everything's a little bit newer. I'm going to place that right off from Coldwater Street, but there's parking here and that's not going to work like this. So maybe we turn it like this. And I'm not convinced that this parking is necessary here. So I might just get rid of it. And Skylines says no. And that's going to change my opinion of the asset going there. I think I'll move it to this side instead. We'll get it away from the pedestrian area. And now it's uncomfortably close to the police department. So I'm going to go with something like that so that I can open up more of this space for landscaping. And, you know, we haven't used our pavers at all today. It's about time. The only thing I don't like about this is really unnecessary to have this parking wrapping all the way around like this. So even though I just broke the asset and I had to replace it, I'm going to try it again. And that's because that is good enough right there. Then I'll once again screen off the unsightlies. That's basically just this trash. Give you some privacy while you're waiting in line to get to the nightclub, and then make this side feel nice with a bunch of landscaping. And while I'm thinking about it, there were so many comments saying to change the color of this paving right here, saying that it basically looks like sand. Some of it is sand, but some of it is pavement. Either way, while I'm thinking about it, I am agreeable to this change. Let's make it. Now, interestingly, it was blobbing to make this look good, so I will need to make a couple of modifications myself. And then in the back here, I kind of like what it's done. So it looks like that's a sand texture there. Maybe we don't go with sand. I wonder if we can go with a different type of paver, maybe something lighter, although that lighter has to be like that. Yeah, I like that a lot. And then I'm also going to replace these so they match. Looks a little bit nicer. Very, very good. The color of the building though now clashes with the pavers. So I feel like I've got to modify this. Even though I like that the roof blends in with the tree canopy. That's why you might go with a color like that. Still, it clashes now with the pavers. So I feel like that dark red, off red just kind of looks better. So I think that that's what we'll go with. Now, I'm rapidly hitting the realization that I am not going to get as far on this project today as I had hoped, and I am completely fine with that. So I'm going to prioritize two things that I really want to add. The first is going to be Joe's Hockey Arena. I didn't get to add this yesterday, so I'm definitely going to add it today. I'm super excited to add this. It's an absolutely gorgeous asset, and I feel like having this off from the main drag will show how important hockey is to this community. But I can't do it. It's too disrespectful of the topography. I'm going to try something else. We're going to move this. No, I need to keep distance from City Hall. I feel like we need separation. I feel like this is as close as I can get while still keeping it prominent. We're going to push dirt around. And then we've got to have some parking next to this. I know you might not love it, but here's the thing. Imagine that there's a visiting team. Oh, there it is. Milestone 11. Hold on. Get some new signature buildings, including the Pinfall Palace. I like that one. Our movie theater, some skyscrapers, and then more loan limit, which means, we probably should repay our loans. I think we have a number outstanding right now. Anyway, the reason why this is so important, just imagine that you're a visiting team and you want to watch your kid or your husband or whoever play hockey or your wife. And now you can't come here because there's no parking. We don't really have excellent regional transit. We have okay regional transit, but it's not excellent. So being able to drive is a necessity. I'm not sure exactly how much parking we need here. I think because of the nature of this being a community amenity, probably more than you'd think, but less than we're going to add. I want the parking lot to be full, not empty. This is not a retail shopping location where they're going to demand that they have excess parking. This place would probably want just enough. And I feel like I should elaborate on that more. The reason why they probably wouldn't want more than they need is because parking is incredibly expensive. It might be $10,000 to $15,000 per parking stall plus forever maintenance. So obviously you don't want to build things that you don't need, that you're not going to use, especially if you're a nonprofit, which I would imagine that this building would be operated by a nonprofit. There we go. That is looking exceptional. I do want to know though, what colors should we have for our team here? We can recolor the asset, and it seems like we should go with something that you guys want. I think for the time being, I'm going to go with white and red to represent Canada, but let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And initially I thought that I was going to get further today than I did, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. I kind of want to take the time to do things really, really deliberately in this build. Considering we have so many more videos, it seems like it's totally doable, but to do that just takes time. So I think I'm going to finish off with one thing. I picked up some of Joe's new North American homes, and I feel like they are going to fit absolutely beautifully in the build, and I want to add them to a couple of locations. Now, if you're not familiar with these, oh my goodness. They are basically a requirement for anyone that's making a North American build, be it the US or Canada. And these are the MW Residential 1900s. So if you like Sears kit homes, these are the ones for you. These have two different variants. They're either 2 units deep or 4 units deep, and they can either be 1 unit wide or 2 units wide. So you need to be a little bit deliberate with the way that you place these. Like right there, by going 4 units deep and 2 wide, I was able to get exactly what I was looking for there. And then here, I'm just gonna filter things down, and all I have to do is search for Midwest. And I wanted to go with one of the 1 wides. For whatever reason, it didn't spawn here. Oh, it's because the 1 wides are 4 units deep. Doesn't look like there are any 2x1s. That's good to know. So with that in mind, I'll make some adjustments. Would you look at this? These homes are just awesome. These are the exact kind of homes you might expect to see in a community like this. They're found all over North America. A lot of these are Sears kit homes or things that you'd find, around the turn of the century. So these are lovely assets. I absolutely adore these. In fact, this home right here is kind of my dream home. I love this so much. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful assets. Joe is just killing it. His assets are all over the build as a result. Just really impressive. The other thing I wanted to point out is that over here, I spread apart these Pittsburgh assets a little bit. I deleted some of the fences, and I think that this spacing ends up looking maybe a little bit more natural. So there is a chance that I have a Twitch only stream where I go through and just basically remove 1 home per block and spread things apart. Not the most interesting thing to watch necessarily, but I do think that the effect is really, really, really good. We just move things around a little bit. It just ends up looking more natural. So there is a high likelihood that I end up doing that. If I do that, I will do a before and after though in a video, so you all are able to see the net result of this. The other thing that I'm thinking of doing is modifying all of the normal local roads to try to make the sidewalks a little bit more narrow so that they feel a bit more natural as well. But I need to do a little bit more research on Canada to see what their sidewalks are like before I embark upon that project. But one thing that I don't need to do any research on to know that I want to do it already is add some more of these homes. And I will attempt to do so in a very deliberate way. So we're going to use platter. And I think for the most part, we're going to be using the 2 unit deep lots. But where it makes sense, we'll definitely go for deeper lots. And this is flat enough that I feel like a developer would punch another road through right here. Because that was 4 more lots right there. That's actually a very considerable density increase. Now, these will probably be controversial, but I want some narrower old homes right here along the river. I think that that's looking pretty darn good. I do have to point one thing out though. This is actually my second go of this neighborhood right here. I crashed. Basically, I was using platter and Move It at the same time. Move It did something weird where I couldn't move anything anymore, and then it was just kind of a matter of time before the crash happened. It's actually the first crash I've had in the series, so I feel pretty good about that. All that said, there is more detailing that I want to do here. I'm probably going to do it another day though. Basically, I want to add trees to all the yards. But I went with a lot of these older single family style homes, imagining that these areas could be redeveloped at some point in the future. And if they're not, it wouldn't be out of place either. So I think that it fills the area in quite nicely. I am guessing that this area over here, though, is going to be a little bit controversial, but I think that this is exactly what you might expect to see as a remnant in an area like this. And if you're one of the folks that owns one of these single family homes, you're probably feeling pretty privileged because these would be excellent places to live most likely. Now that said, these are a little bit closer than I expected. Rather than rolling the move it dice, I'm going to use my radius delete to get rid of props, which will actually allow me to get rid of the platter parcels. And then I think I'm going to spread the buildings out just a bit. And yeah, the more that I do this, the more I realize it's not just something that I want to do. It's something that I have to do if I want to get the aesthetic that I'm looking for. And that really matters to me. That really is something that matters to me a lot in this city. So I'm going to do it. Now, obviously, even after all of that, there's still a lot of work to do, but I'm really liking the way that things are going. By doing things really deliberately, we're creating really special places and really unique neighborhoods. And I think by being willing to take a chance on unique asset combinations, we're ending up with places that feel pretty realistic. But perhaps most importantly, we're accomplishing the goal of making a 15-minute city, which is something that we're going to be doing from here on out. Obviously, there's still quite a bit of work to do, but I think that that's completely okay because for today, I'm really pleased with the work that we've done, and I think that we're going to leave it here. And I really hope that you've enjoyed this one. If you did, please hit the like button. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. And I want to thank you so much for your time today. There's a million things you could have been doing. You decided to hang out with me and slowly build New Banff, and for that, I appreciate you, and I appreciate your time. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.